He's on his way to interrogation now. You knew Derek smoked tobacco? You had pesticide ready in both the shop and the house. It would have been child's play to tamper with his camping gear.
That is a bunch of bull. I told you before, I just dropped that stuff off. I was gonna use it later.
To kill Derek?
To kill the rats in Mrs. Hansen's garage. Look, I've offed my share of pests, but Derek Hardy wasn't one of them.
Mama has a book on pesticides, as well as the killer powder in her house when her son stopped by. Let's hear her story.
Why wouldn't I if I planned to have that vile substance around? My garage was rat-infested and I meant to do something about it. Is killing rats a crime in Las Vegas?
No, unless the rat was a big one, named Derek, who had come around to pick up his camping gear. You knew he was coming over. So you manipulated your contractor friend Asper to bring you some pesticide. While Derek is distracted, you poison his tobacco. A dose perfect for seeing to it his desert camping expedition is his last.
Is that how you solve crimes, Captain Brass? Spin conjecture all day? I never touched that pesticide, nor even opened the book. I didn't have time. And I did not poison my son's tobacco, though I told that boy time and again that smoking would kill him someday. Now, if you're quite finished with wasting my time, perhaps I can provide a fact, not conjecture. There's something I found that I must have thrown away after Derek cleared out his camping gear. Look, I found a receipt that must have dropped out of Derek's jacket pocket.
You should have handed that over earlier, Mrs. Hansen. It may be evidence.
Well, I thought it was just trash at the time, but upon reflection, I began to think otherwise. It's a receipt for tobacco, the day before the crime. I called the tobacco shop, and you'll want to do the same.
We will, but why do you say that, Mrs. Hansen?
Well, as I say, the receipt had been in Derek's pocket, apparently, but the tobacco was purchased by Carla, the clerk said. And here's an interesting tidbit about my loving daughter-in-law. Smoking is not one of her numerous bad habits. So I left a harsh message for my wayward son. And that leads you to think I committed filicide?
You're a confident woman, Mrs. Hansen. Maybe you thought you'd never be found out. And the papers are already saying you're winning the sympathy of the voters.
Kill my own child to improve my position in the polls. Does that strike you as an effective way to attract votes? He had pledged financial support, and when he changed his mind, I had to let key staffers go and expose my financial weakness to the media. But since then, we've regained our footing, and we'll do fine without his help. $100,000. If that sounds like a murder motive to you, tell me how I gain from my son's death. My sweet daughter-in-law, however, stands to pick up a cool $500,000. I saw a copy of the policy. We share an insurance agent. Gladly. It will be just another memory to store away until I'm elected and can begin going after all your jobs.
We've done all we can with that item. 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 Let's run this evidence by Captain Brass.
Yeah, I had a long talk with the clerk who knew Carla all the way from Catholic school. He also told me that Carla bought the tobacco the day before her husband left for the campout. We know there was pesticide at the condo. We know Carla bought tobacco, and we know she's being friendly with others. Did Carla spike her husband's tobacco in his own house? You now have a search warrant for evidence to answer that question.
I'm not really sure. He said he was planning to use this virulent pesticide, and I said, like hell you are. I didn't want my cats using up their 9 lives.
Did you happen to see where he kept it?
No, as I say, I can't be sure if it even was here. Are we talking an aerosol spray can like bug killer? Might have been in the kitchen, under the sink, or under the counter. Frankly, he cluttered our kitchen up something fierce. I was happy when he finally came and hauled that junk out. What a mess. Maybe. I really have no idea.
And Derek's been gone for a week. How often do they do the laundry around here? Looks like this lid fits the jar in the contractor's shop. Careful, something's on the inside. Smells like tobacco. Way to be thorough. Looks like the area's clean. Way to be thorough. Looks like the area's clean.
I told you all I can.
They say tobacco kills. Sure does. Especially with the pesticide blend. So, poison was mixed inside the lid at the condo. Derek and Carla were having their last breakfast together, and Lou, the friendly contractor, stopped by. Man, any one of them could have done it. We've done all we can with that item. We've done all we can with that item. Derek wasn't responsible for this deposit of bodily fluid, so that sympathetic shoulder Carla was seeking was more than shoulder.
I've told you all I can.
He's on his way to interrogation now.
Big deal. I worked at that condo. A lot of my stuff was there. But I would never leave that rat killer compound around with the lid off. I ain't no idiot. That hot wife must have taken it off. Or maybe Derek took it off and offed himself. Did you geniuses ever think of that? God, I wish. But hey, what kind of guy do you think I am?
She's on her way to interrogation now.
And now I'm accused of the criminal act of being informed about a deadly substance I needed to use around the house. How evil of me.
When you lie to us, it makes you look evil.
Perhaps I did read about the poison. Honestly, I can't remember if I did or didn't. It's all so trivial at a time like this. I know you find it hard to believe, but I loved my son. We had our problems, and ours was not the ideal mother and son relationship. But I was still his mother, and I gave him his life. I did not take it.
I've told you all I can.
Way to be thorough. Looks like the area's clean.
The Vic's wife bought tobacco. You found pesticide mixed in tobacco in her kitchen, which is a perfect recipe for bringing her in.
Well, it was a gift, of course. Smoking was the one vice Derek had that I hadn't tried to break him of, and making a gift of tobacco had a special meaning for us.
Special meaning. And you especially made sure you had to take it with him out in the desert.
I really have no idea what you're getting at. My husband liked to roll his own cigarettes. I gave him some tobacco as a gift.
Same unique blend that killed your husband.
Well, that is odd, I admit. And as I say, he rolled his own cigarettes. Wouldn't he have noticed if someone mixed something toxic in?
This was odorless, tasteless, and worth a shot, with $500,000 payday waiting for the loving wife.
Spare me your sarcasm, Captain. I already told you, that money means nothing to me. I earn my own considerable income as an attorney. Wasn't I the one who told you about the policy and warned you it would look suspicious? I didn't touch any jar, and I have no idea how pesticide might have gotten in my husband's tobacco. Why don't you ask that jackass Astor? It was his pesticide, wasn't it? Hell, it was his jar!
You can't play the loyal wife who had just turned her wayward husband around when this tragedy happened. Not when the semen stains we found don't belong to your late husband.
I was going to end it. The affair, I mean. It started before Derek turned his life around, during a time when I felt very, very alone. And even when Derek and I started crawling back up out of the hole our marriage had become, my friend, as you put it, was there for me, supporting me. I'm not the only woman with 2 men in her life that she cares about. Just like I said before, he got up and made us breakfast. You don't think he could have poisoned himself, do you? Well, he seemed happy. Then we were eating, and the contractor stopped by to get his junk out of our kitchen. We just left him alone. Neither of us wanted to talk to him. Wait, the contractor was in our kitchen. He could have poisoned him right behind our backs. God, I can't believe it. Do what you have to. Anything to help eliminate me so you can go after the real killer.
Not quite. Something similar. You'll want a different tool for that. Unusual spot for a fingerprint. There's more we should do with that item before we can process it.
I don't have anything for you right now.
She's on her way to interrogation now.
How remarkable. What brilliant detectives you are. Finding a mother's fingerprints at her son's condo from months ago. How terribly, horribly incriminating for me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a life to rebuild and a campaign to run and win.
He's on his way to interrogation now.
I never touched his damn tobacco, and I got no memory of ever opening that jar. Write this down and take every word. I didn't poison nobody but a bunch of damn rats. Rodent type, not human.
She's on her way to interrogation now.
I've told you all I can.
Prints on the jar lid tell the whole story.
You're wrong. I loved my husband. You're wasting time going down the wrong road. My theory is that ball-breaking mother of his is in on it with Astor.
Well, it wasn't Mom's prints on the jar lid. It was yours. And she didn't buy the tobacco. You did. Just like she didn't mix the poison.
You didn't find out at the last second about your husband's camping trip. You knew in advance, which is why you bought the tobacco the day before, giving you plenty of time to mix it with pesticide and send him off to the desert to die.
But you dropped the lid and couldn't get to it. So, to throw off suspicion, you called contractor Lou Astor and had him collect his materials and haul them away before your husband left.
You want a confession? You're not going to get one. I'm an attorney and I know my rights. And incidentally, I'm innocent. I didn't need the money, and I loved him despite his faults.
Maybe at one time, and whether you needed his money or not, what wife could sit there while her husband gambled away a trust fund? Here he is married to a beautiful woman like you, and he throws his money away on strippers.
But Mrs. Mitchell, Carla, Why not just divorce the guy?
I'm not saying another word.
Didn't you know, Greg? Carl is a Catholic, and divorce is a sin. Anyway, a divorce settlement wouldn't have meant squat with that trust fund whittled away. But $500,000 in life insurance could make up for a lot of indignities.
I'll see you in court. You'll love it. I'll defend myself.
Perfect. And like the old saying goes, you'll have a fool for a client.
The tragedy of marriage, a wag once said, is that all women marry thinking their man will change, and all men marry believing their wives will never change. And both are wrong. For Carla Mitchell, marriage was built on trust. A trust fund, that is. When she saw it melt away, she sought a new policy, life insurance. Her poison of choice was tasteless and odorless, but not invisible, to the eyes of science at least. You did well. Let's evaluate your performance. You investigated every possible angle on this case. Doesn't happen often, but I'm very impressed.